What's up, Internet? My name's Ori. Welcome back to the channel. It is July 7th, the day after the Big Brother 24 premiere. The live feed started last night. We've already got some stuff that was going on. I'm a little confused on how we got from one point to another, and we'll go over that after we talk about a little bit of what happened in the episode last night. Let's just jump into the episode. Look, the first episode of Big Brother, it can drag. There's a lot of the video bios. We've already seen the cast, right? But not everyone is as obsessed as we are with Big Brother. They don't look up the cast before the show. Sometimes they just watch the episodes, right? So they need to have that in the episode. I understand. But as a fan watching that first one, it can drag. So I was glad at least it was an hour and a half premiere, because that at least gave us the full thing of the competitions in there as well. I still like the live move-ins. I like the idea that we're able to get the live feeds the first night. There's so much that you can miss in that first week of Big Brother. I feel like it's a yearly tradition now in Big Brother Canada where those first week of feeds aren't on, and something amazing happens in that first week. Like, it almost always happens where that first week of Big Brother Canada, something happens that just becomes like a legendary story, and like we'll never know exactly what happened, but we just know something happened. So I'm glad that we don't have those type of things going on anymore. But overall, it was a weak premiere. I'm starting to like the cast more. This isn't a cast that you instantly look at and go, oh, these look like a bunch of, really interesting people. Which may sound a little mean. I don't know. But it definitely didn't give me like instant hype vibes that I've gotten with other casts I've seen. Now, we did have the main portion of the episode, other than the bios, was the HOH competition. It was separated into 3 separate comps. They had a porta potty one, which was basically they had to listen to an audio recording of, kind of like a story, right? And it would be like, there were 3 tickets in the 2 booths, and there was only one of them, but now there's 3 of them, and do you have both of them? Like, there's 2, right? And they had to listen how many times 1, 2, and 3 were said in the sentence. Whoever answered the fastest would be the winner of that round. Last one to answer in would be eliminated. They got like blue goo thrown all over them. I mean, it was all right comp. It was probably the best of the 3, I think, maybe. The second one was weird. The second one was called the piercing tent. And by the way, it was 5 people in each group. They had to grab like a ticket in the house to scan it in, and they were randomly separated, although I think the randomizer might have been broken. It hit porta potty 4 times in a row. It hit the other game like 3 times in a row. Like, it seemed like it was a little bit more predetermined than they wanted us to believe. Or maybe it just worked out that way, and that's how it was randomly picking. I don't know. Anyway, it was called the piercing tent, and they had a whole bunch of like earrings, like dangly earrings, hoop earrings, and stuff like that. That they had a picture of a face, and it showed them where each earring was supposed to go on their face, and they had to then clip those earrings. They were like clip-on ones, like they had ones hanging on their lip, their nose, their eyebrows. They were doing them on their ears, everywhere, all over their face. Monty won the first competition. Turner, I think is what he's going by now. He's Matt Turner. I don't know, but he's going by Turner. I'm just gonna know him as Joe Dirt, Tiger King. So Monty, Joe Dirt, and who was it? Daniel, the eventual winner of the HOH. They're the 3 people who won their respective competitions. Daniel's competition, it was like a t-shirt one, where they had to hang from these t-shirts. It was all like upper body strength. I saw some people complaining that it wasn't fair for the girls, but I feel like in a competition like that, the lighter you are can be an advantage. But yeah, I guess it all came down to upper body strength, and I guess Daniel had the most of the people in his group, and probably like weight to muscle ratio, right? That's a factor in it as well. I think people are being a little unfair to production on the fairness of that comp. I think it was okay. Now those three moved on to a fourth competition just between the three of them. They had to put together this drum set puzzle. Daniel crushed it. He was way faster than the other two. I almost guarantee the other two were going to say they threw it because they didn't want the HOH or something, because he crushed it. He destroyed them in that comp. After that, it was pretty much an episode, right? Well, there was one other piece of business that they had to handle. So one of the tickets, because if you do the math, right, 5 in each of the 3 competitions, that's 15. There's 16 house guests. Well, Pooch, you can see on our little board up there, he's labeled as the big boss. Now, what the big boss was, one of the tickets they grabbed in the house and they had a scan that separated them, was the big boss ticket. And he was the second to last ticket, which is, again, pretty convenient and not randomish feeling at all, right? Like, we, as the audience, you would expect it to be the last one, so they made it the second to last one. Again, made it, or just how the randomness worked. I don't know. Maybe each ticket was predetermined, and it's just how they picked them. I don't know. But he was the big boss. He was the one who was the big boss. And now, the order they went to scan, that was random. The house guests completely chose that on their own, it seemed like. Because they walked out of the house, and they pretty much went right up to the scanner. Like, one dude had his thing in the scanner before anybody even said anything. So it wasn't like they, were going to commercial break, and then they scanned. He, like, went up there and forced it in, and they let him go. So I don't know. I don't know exactly what was up with it. It just felt off. Anyway, he was the big boss. He had to go up to a big gold chair. He looked like King Farquaad or whatever from Shrek. He was like a giant gold chair. He couldn't find the chair. It's a literal giant gold chair next to you, dog, and like you don't see it. He walked right past it. So he sat up there during all the competitions. He then watched like some quick videos of all the house guests, just kind of like telling who they are. And he had to pick 3 people to go to the backstage. Now, mind you, he has a deal now where he can't be nominated. He won't be playing in any competition. So the veto that's coming up, he won't be playing in that. And he's safe for the week. He had to pick 3 people to do the same as him, except they're not going to be safe for the week. This is maybe one of the most complicated twists that Big Brother's ever done, or at the very least, it was very confusing, because the house guests last night on the feeds, they still didn't understand it until they got actually clarification later today. Let me pull up my notes. Because someone actually went to DR and was like, hey, can we get some clarification? Alyssa went to the DR and she was like, yo, can we get some clarification on what the rules are? And she came back, told all the house guests, they can't be nommed, they won't vote, and that's the other thing. Pooch can't vote either. They won't vote, and they can't be put up as a replacement nom, but their game is still in jeopardy. So what that sounds like to me is it might be like a double eviction on eviction night, because Daniel can't nominate them. He can't put them up as renoms. One of them is being saved with a public vote. So it sounds like there's going to be 1 vote for 2 people and then a second vote between the 2 people who are still in the backstage. And I don't know. It could be different than that, but it sounds interesting. Like a double in the first week. That's crazy. And really going to like shake up the game pretty quickly because of some of the stuff that was happening on the live feed last night, and who I think might get saved just from the vibes I'm getting from the people and things I'm seeing online as well. So anyway, we skipped over who was chosen for the backstage. Pooch chose Paloma, Alyssa, and Brittany to go into the backstage. Alyssa and Paloma, they were like the first 2 out of their competitions. And then Brittany, he was like, you stand out, I'm sorry. And like, he had to pick somebody. So they can't vote. They can't be nominated. They can't be renommed, but they're still in jeopardy. And that's really what we know. We'll see how that all develops. That pretty much wrapped up the episode. It was after the West Coast airing of the episode. The live feeds came on last night around like 12:30. It was the typical first night feeds, right? As I'm hitting my microphone here. It was typical first night feeds, like a big party atmosphere. Not too much really going on like strategy wise, but you can start getting a vibe for who interacts with who more, who's getting along with who, what kind of, real personality somebody has as you're seeing them more and more in the house. Early on, I did see Pooch saying like he feels like he could be a little bit of an early target, but it seems like he's cool with Monty and Kyle. We'll see how that all kind of develops. Now, here's where it might be the biggest story of the feeds. I was watching last night, and two of the people who were in the backstage, Paloma and Alyssa, they were talking about like, hey, we should work together. Let's make a final two. They also said, it would be cool to make like a 6-person alliance. Like 3 girls, 3 guys. Who do you like? And it seemed like they liked Taylor. They were like, Taylor seems very loyal. She might be a good one. And she's strong, right? She might be good in comps. It seemed like they were like, yeah, let's get Taylor in. They also liked Kyle, Monty, and Pooch. So it seemed like that could be our first alliance of the season, this core 6 big alliance that's forming. They also were saying, yeah, and then we'll get like 2 more who are like in the alliance, but like not really, which never works out. Those people always end up being either like better allies with your allies or something. Like if you're going to have an alliance, you have an alliance, period. So they were talking about having like an 8-person kind of a thing, but like 6 of the 6 core and, the standard thing that like is the Big Brother strategy nowadays, right? But something happened, and I don't know what had happened between that and then what happened this morning. So this morning, you're watching the feeds, and like the girls, especially Pamela and Alyssa, they're talking about Taylor, and they're not saying her name. They're going, "Oh, pageant girl." It's like, I literally heard you say Taylor. Like, her name's Taylor. Her name's Taylor, but you're calling her pageant girl. What happened between last night of you guys saying she was very loyal and this morning where you're talking about how you have to get her out? They're saying Michael would be a good person to get on their side because he won't be easily manipulated by her or something. Like, they get that vibe. And it's like, what happened between those 2 moments? And yeah, I don't know. I think maybe it was one of those things where they liked her, and then maybe they're realizing where everybody else really likes her too. The biggest thing I'm getting is I think this is going to be a messy season. It's giving me messy season vibes. A lot of these people are like fans of the show where they've seen it, but they're not like super fans. So I don't think a lot of them know like the actual strategies. So I think this could be a nice little messy season. We'll see. Looking over my notes, I did have some from Daniel, who is the HOH after all. And he was kind of just talking about like it's way too early. He doesn't know what to do. He thought Kyle was cool. Turner's chill. Terrence was cool. Doesn't think he's a threat. He says he needs to keep him around. So I think he sees Terrence as somebody who's like, yo, like, why not just keep this guy around if he's going to be a vote for me, right? He liked Brittany, but thinks she was going to be someone that he could easily put up. But obviously he can't put her up since she's in the backstage. He liked Pooch. He thinks Nicole was cool, but he needs to talk to her. And he's just like, I like too many people right now. And that's the problem with being the first HOH, right? Like, that's the problem. He's the one that maybe I think has been watching the show the most. He said in his HOH room that he's been trying to get on for like 10 years. And like, he always wanted to win the first HOH, and he did it. So good on him. He did a great job. Other than that, let's see, what else do I have on my notes here? Oh, there was a little bit of a thing done with the people who were put in the porta potties, at least I think the first 4, because Monty and Kyle, who actually volunteered to be have-nots, they were talking about like, hey, like, is the thing they had with the porta potties like still a thing? Kyle's hoping, and Monty says that Jasmine and Paloma told them they'll chat tomorrow. So it seems like there's a little bit of a foursome. Like I said, they were the first 4 in, and they were the first 4 put into the porta potties. Like, it was 4 in a row. They all went to the porta potties. That's why the randomness was a little weird. So it was Monty, Kyle, Jasmine, and Paloma. Oh no, because who else was in there? It was Nicole was in there, but I don't think Nicole was in that first group. So yeah. Nicole was the 5th person there, but I don't think she was in like the first group. So they're only counting the first group. Maybe Nicole's in there and they'll add her in. I don't know. But it was definitely that like first group, because they were in there, you know, it's like the typical first 4 alliance thing, you know, nothing too special, but we'll see how it goes. There was a fairly good little conversation between Joseph and Taylor last night as well. And it was just kind of like saying like, hey, anybody have some game talk with you? Taylor's like, nah, like nothing. Joe just says he's trying to like live in the moment, not get swept up in it, because that, like, there were so many of them when you're watching the feeds that like they're in the middle of a conversation with everybody and they're just kind of like looking around and like lost in the space, and it can be very overwhelming. I imagine, like I said before, there's something about when you walk through those doors of the house that things just change so quickly. Other than that, you know, there wasn't much that really happened on the feeds. Like I said, it was a lot of just, you know, getting to know each other, telling stories about each other, getting a vibe for who you might want to work with. But the biggest story, the biggest one so far, I believe, is the Taylor hatred. It seems like the girls have turned on her, and I don't 100% know what happened. I'm assuming it's going to be a big story in the episodes, so maybe we'll get a little bit more explanation of like why there's hatred for her now and why there's dislike for her. But that's going to be probably the most interesting storyline to follow going into Sunday's episode, because that's our next episode where we'll see nominations. Make sure you also go to CBS.com. You can vote for who you want to save from the backstage between Paloma, Alyssa, and Brittany. One of them will be safe and saved by America's vote, so they won't be in jeopardy of going home anymore. So we'll see. You know what would be interesting too, if they did like a double vote, but it's not a double eviction. So Daniel nominates 2 people, they vote one person out, right? But instead of voting them out, they vote them onto the block. Then the 2 backstage people, they vote on them, and one of them gets voted to the block, and there's a 3rd vote, and one of them goes home. That would be really interesting. That would be really interesting, and like a cool dynamic, because like, how does that change who ends up going home, right? Like, if just to throw it out, I'm just throwing a random example out there. Let's say it's Indy and Jasmine on the block, and Paloma and Alyssa are the 2 left on the backstage, and they vote Paloma to the block and Jasmine to the block. well, maybe they wanted Jasmine out originally, but now they think Paloma is a bigger threat. Right? Do you see how that can change? That would be really interesting if that's where the twist goes. But I don't want to keep you guys too much longer. If you made it through all the way to the end of this video, smash that like button. Hit the subscribe button if you're new here as well. I'm going to be live on Twitch later today. We'll probably be talking about the live feeds, talking about what's going on in the house, just in general, probably chatting about random stuff. Maybe we'll play some games. We'll see. But definitely stop on over. Links will be in the description down below. Other than that, I will see you next time. We'll probably maybe have another update tomorrow. There'll probably be nominations today or tomorrow, depending on when they actually do it or not. So I will see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye, guys.